coffee crew. Welcome back to all my besties. Just a quick question. How are those resolutions and goals holding up? We're about 5 months in now, and there's no judgment if yours look a little different than it did in January. I have my race next week, and then my plan is to, after my race, start working towards next year's goal, which I want to run a 10K. My bucket list is to one day run a marathon, but baby steps. My lifting goal, I'm about to level up again on my weights. So I want to be able to lift 100 pounds by the end of the year goal is still the plan, but we'll see how the summer treats me. I want you to remember, sometimes resolutions just need a revision. It's not failing, it's adjusting. You know, kind of like when you make your coffee in the morning and you take a sip and you decided it just needs a little bit more creamer. Not a bad cup of coffee. Just needs a little something extra. For me, if by November it looks like 75 is going to be where I max out for the year, hey, it's still more than the 10 pounds I started with. So we're just going to keep going and adjust. Now, we've talked a lot this season about engineered outrage, who profits from conflict, and the systems behind the tools. And today we're going to go old school. Because the thing that we've been talking about as a modern social media problem, it actually has a very specific origin story. It didn't start with an algorithm. Nope. But with a couple of seeds called boy bands, a TV show called TRL, and one odd man with very suspicious contracts. The war was never real. It was merchandise sales dressed up in a voting dress. And somebody made a lot of money off of all of us fighting it out. The 90s boy band era was not organic in its creation. It's not like we woke up one day and suddenly there's like a massive outbreak of hot guys that can sing and dance. It wasn't a group of friends who got found in a high school play and suddenly were discovered. It was a manufactured product from the ground up. For some reason, Florida seemed to be like the hot spot for it. I don't know why. All these groups were designed by a small group of your typical villain type. You know, they're smoking their cigars, they're cackling while they rub their hands together, count their money. And then they market bombed everything to a very specific demographic with the precision of a functional military operation. The man who was mostly responsible for all this was Lou Pearlman. And if you don't know who Lou Pearlman is, here's a shorter version. He managed the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC simultaneously. Yeah. The two biggest boy band rivals of the 90s had the same manager, the same puppet master. This guy's the one who provided a big chunk of algorithm DNA to the monster before anyone knew what an algorithm was. He created this rivalry between the two acts he owned, and without their knowledge. He made sure in the beginning that neither band kind of knew of his involvement in both. And here's the part that can make you spit out your coffee. His contracts with these bands gave him a percentage as the backer, which is normal, but it also listed him as an invisible fifth and sixth member, respectively. So to break this down, a little bit easier. Let's say that the split was 50-50. You know, he gets 50%, the band gets 50% to split amongst themselves. Well, he gets his 50, and then that portion that they split amongst themselves, well, he gets a share of that too. He was collecting a full band member share of income from both sides. Every ticket sale, every shirt bought, every pillow with the member's face on it. Yes, I will admit I had a Nick Carter one. I remember ordering it from a magazine. I'll admit it right now. Whatever it was, he got his share and a portion of the band share. And then he would go to each band separately and make things up that the other band member supposedly said to keep that fire burning. He really didn't care who won. He won either way. The fight was his business model. Simon Fuller and major label systems were doing the same thing on a broader scale. Demographics were not just based on musical taste. You were sold a tribe, a team, an identity. It wasn't just what music you liked. It was who you were. Were you Backstreet Boys or NSYNC? Were you Backstreet or New Kids? Boys to Men, 98 Degrees. Those were smaller. NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were the bigger one. Boys to Men and 98 Degrees, they actually shared the same label. Boys to Men came first. And then the powers to be decided that they wanted a white version. Which, side note, that happens in music a lot. Either way, they made you think you had to pick a side. And here's the magic circle that holds this whole thing together. It didn't matter which side you picked. They owned both sides. The merchandise, the concert tickets, the albums, the magazine covers. Showing my age here a bit, the phone voting lines back when you had to pay 99 cents to vote. And you hoped your parents wouldn't notice when the phone bill came in. Every dollar spent in the fight went back to the same place. The illusion of choice was the product. The rivalry was the engine. And we repeated it row after row, making them a blanket out of money. And we didn't even get to see the pattern we were crocheting. The fans didn't create this war, and neither did the bands. The bands were the ones in the studio, on the road, killing themselves in rehearsal for the love of their fans, just to be ripped off before they even made a dollar. The industry handed them a war, told them it was personal, and watched the money roll in while they sat back and drank their coffee. All right, my people, let's get into today's Stitch Happens. And speaking of things that declare war on stuff that doesn't deserve it, I'm going to tell you about my old dog Mondo's first Christmas. So for new listeners, Mondo was our last dog before Rain. He was large, goofy, extremely protective of me, and very committed to his opinions of what did and did not belong anywhere near me. So his first Christmas with us, because we got him in October, I pulled out all the decorations because it was just me and him. I put Nightmare Before Christmas on the TV. Kids were at school, hubby was at work. So I set up the tree, and then I set up my people. You know the ones. They rock back and forth or wave. They make, there's a little motor in them that makes them move. Now I have Mr. and Mrs. Claus, 2 elves making toys, and 2 choir girls. Most people find them fun. Mondo took one look and chose Santa as his mortal enemy. Personally, I would have gone with the one elf. He's really creepy looking and he holds this saw that he waves back and forth. That would have been my choice. But Mondo decided that the elf was no threat. Santa, however, was not safe. So he plants himself directly in front of me on the couch, facing Santa. His hackles are raised, and he probably spent a good 20 minutes growling at it. Not barking, growling. Low, serious, very, if you move, I will eat you like a donut, growling. He's the Secret Service, and he has seen Santa's file, and the file was bad, so he needed to protect me. I mean, I even had a video I took and posted, because he was just so locked in. Mondo was not to be deterred. He'd crawl forward, jump back a little. He'd sniff and growl some more. And then in one decisive moment of bravery, he got a little bit closer and knocked it over. Yeah. All of a sudden, I have an 80-pound dog on top of me, like I was the boy band and he was saving me from a wild fan. I went from filming and laughing to being suffocated. When I finally got him down and turned Santa off, he was so proud of himself. So certain he had handled something dangerous and saved my life. He had taken out Plastic Santa, and now the house is safe. You know, it took him 3 years before he stopped reacting to those things. 3 full Christmases of me trying to move those decorations somewhere that wouldn't cause him to randomly growl and knock them over. Although, I guess it's better than rain. Rain growls at the neighbor across the street mowing the yard. Mondo just growled at things in the house. Sometimes we find ourselves in a fight, and we don't even know how we got here. The Santa wasn't his enemy. And Mondo just needed someone to let him know that Santa was safe. And even then, he required 3 years of proof before he'd accept it. TRL, or for those of my listeners who were, not born yet, Total Request Live was not just the music video countdown. It was the shit stir of the Profit Wars. It was also kind of the egg the monster hatched from. MTV took this boxing match that the labels had manufactured and built an entire kind of cheer with your cash machine around it. It wasn't the way it sounded. I mean, it wasn't, I like these songs more than those. You called in to vote every day. You rushed home from school so you could catch it. You watch the rankings because you got to remember back then you had to catch things live. You sat on the edge of your seat waiting to see who was number 1 today. You kind of got invested, almost like, it was a sporting event and you had placed a bet. You had arguments with your friends about who was better, who was hotter, who had the cooler music video. All while MTV is making money off the engagement. Just like social media, just like websites. TV was the original, rankings. The higher they were in the rankings, the more value added to their advertisement space. MTV's making money through the ads with the boy band fight. The labels are making money off the merch and the albums. Both are continually adding fuel to this rivalry fire. They don't push aside because they don't really care who wins. And the winner isn't like it comes in with a cash prize for the fans. MTV doesn't care. The winning band ain't gonna cut them a check. It's push the fight. The fight equals ratings, merchandise sales, all of it equals more money. TRL didn't invent this, but they definitely mainstreamed it. And released it to an entire generation like it was the Kraken. But why stop there? If the fight is just a formula, well, then you can apply it anywhere. And they did. They slid that playbook right into the movies. Team Edward versus Team Jacob. Now, if you tell me that phenomenon was just crazy fans being crazy, I want you to think about it. The day the movie's released, you got your popcorn, you had to choose which bucket you wanted. Did you want an Edward bucket or Jacob bucket? The official team merchandise was sold in Target before the second movie even came out. The magazine covers were designed to pit the two leads against each other in the interviews. It was putting the start of the fight in the movie and then pushing it out into the stands to carry over into high schools everywhere. You know, kind of like a professional wrestling match. Fans love it when they get out of the ring and go into the crowds. They took the story, split the audience down the middle on purpose, and sold a team to both sides. Sound familiar? Reality TV took the same playbook and cashed in on it too. Survivor, Big Brother, American Idol. You know, again, for some of these, in the beginning, you had to call in and it was 99 cents to vote. The show manufactures conflict between contestants, edits them into types: heroes, villains, friends, lovers, whatever. As long as you have someone to root for and someone to root against. And then they cash in on the voting. The people's choice is an illusion. You know, you felt like you had the power to pick what happened on the show. Because it would be like, should we do A, B, or C? Vote now. The production company got your dollar. And they really got to pick what they wanted anyway, because pre-social media, it's not like you could just go online and see people voting in real time. You had to trust that they were accurate and who won. And then it moved on to social media and became the dirty water that we voluntarily swim in daily. The algorithm did not invent this engineered outrage. It inherited it from the family DNA tree before it. TRL, boy band wars, reality TV. The egg was hatched in the 90s. The algorithm is just the monster that we love to hate. Same system, bigger monster. We're feeding it more data, but kind of from the same recipe book. And we talked about this in episode 13. The system that profits from the fight is always the same system. They just dress up in different clothes. The entertainment industry and the tech industry, they're running the same business model. The only thing really that changed is the speed. All right, coffee crew. I just poured me a fresh cup, literally. And it is time for our Brews News. As always, I like to date and timestamp these. So it is May 20th, 2026, 6:30 in the morning. Yes, I am running a little late today. This week is a big Epstein update, so I apologize if it runs over a little extra. For Epstein, I want to take a moment before the facts because what happened last week in Palm Beach matters. On May 12th, the House Oversight Democrats held a field hearing in West Palm Beach. Now, this was less than 3 miles away from Epstein's mansion, where many of his crimes took place. 8 people testified, and that included 4 victims, 4 survivors. They testified publicly, on camera, under oath, with their names attached to their stories. Meanwhile, Lutnick dodged behind executive privilege and word games, and Bondi avoided showing up entirely until they agreed to the interview, not a deposition. These survivors continue to show up over and over again with everything they have. There was Rosa, a former model recruited by Epstein while he was on work release in 2009 from his sweetheart deal. She broke down on camera. She had kept herself protected up until recently as a Jane Doe through years of legal proceedings. Just to wake up one day and find her name mentioned over 500 times in the files that the DOJ released. So a victim who has remained as a Jane Doe for years, her name wasn't covered up, but the rich and powerful names still remain protected by redactions. Her identity was exposed to the world. So the people who did the damage got the protection. And the people who survived the damage got left unprotected. It's a system working exactly how it was designed. And it is further proof of why it's broken. There was also Sky Roberts, Virginia Giuffre's brother. She testified that Virginia had gave sworn testimony where she named names and that the survivors are not going to stop. His words were, "The truth is, many survivors stay silent because many of these individuals still hold power, wealth, and influence in our society. That is dangerous." And he is right. Also this week, a federal judge unsealed what appears to be a suicide note found in Epstein's cell by a former cellmate. The note read, "It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye." And I want to be careful here because this still doesn't settle the question of what happened. And experts have noted it is unlikely to end the debate either way. What I will say is that note has been in the system for years and was just now unsealed. On the note of his suicide, the guard testified for roughly 4 hours in a closed door, again, interview. She denied falling asleep that night, denied that she was paid to look the other way. The committee members who asked about these cash deposits said he believes her explanation that the money was overtime pay. She told the committee that she believes Epstein died by suicide because there was nobody else in the cell. But here was a significant revelation. Noel testified that Epstein received special treatment at the facility. He got extra bed linens, CPAP machine, and access to medications in a way no other inmate did. The Democratic committee members noted the obvious question. Why would a man who had just attempted suicide a month earlier be given extra linens that he could use to hang himself? So that's an open question they flagged coming out of the interview. She also said that she felt her termination was unfair, and if it hadn't been Epstein, she would not have been fired. Committee members said the failures that night appear to be a systematic issue in the facility and not a conspiracy. So what's coming up? Well, Epstein's former assistant, Sarah Kellen, testifies Thursday, which is tomorrow. So I should have something about that next week. Bondi's interview is still on for May 29th. Bill Gates, Leon Black, and others are also scheduled. We'll see what happens. For my second story, I want to talk about the continuation of this tone deafness of the administration. So Mike Johnson went viral this week. Feral too. But not for good reason. And it actually was something he said a year ago, in which he defends congressional stock trading because members of Congress need to be able to take care of their families on their salary. His argument is that congressional salaries have been frozen since 2009 and stock trading helps make the job financially viable. So here's the facts. A base congressional salary is $174,000, and that already puts them in the top 10% of American earners. Speaker Mike Johnson earns $223,500, roughly $800 a day. On top of their salary, well, they're given daily food allowances, travel reimbursement, and a generous pension after 5 years of service, and taxpayer-funded office budgets. Can I also note here that the federal minimum wage has also been frozen since 2009 at $7.25 an hour, which works out to roughly $15,000 a year for a full-time worker. The same year, congressional pay stopped going up, minimum wage stopped going up. But Johnson's not talking about that. The same day his clip went viral, the Office of Government Ethics released filings showing that Trump executed over 3,600 stock trades worth between $220 million and $750 million in the first quarter of 2026 alone. One of those, NVIDIA, landed 1 week before the Commerce Department approved the chip sales to China. The bill to ban congressional stock trading has 82 signatures on a discharge position, and it needs 218 to force a vote. So it is stalled in Johnson's own house. He says he supports a ban on balance, but the ban is not moving. And 72% of Americans across both party lines support it. Again, the system that profits from the fight is the same system. All right, before you get mad at me for ruining your childhood, knowing the game is rigged doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying the different sides of the fight. You know, you don't have to throw your Jacob t-shirt away. I was a little older for that one, so I didn't really get into it too much. You don't have to throw your NSYNC shirt away. You're allowed to still love all of it. You know, just like sports. You're allowed to pick a team. Buy the merch that supports your side. If you need a new shirt and you want to buy one, buy one. The problem is not that you had a preference. The problem is that someone manufactured this hostility and sold it to you as if it needed to be a part of your identity. When you recognize that, it kind of takes the power away from it. Once you can see that hand controlling all the puppets, you start to notice it everywhere. The sticker on the album that says One Direction only. The Instagram beef conveniently timed before an album drop. The social media bot accounts that only exist to make you angry, so you keep posting and engaging. The more you see it, the faster you spot it. Which means the sooner you can kind of disengage from the fight that doesn't help and just hurt your peace. You know, you can still buy what you like without letting the puppet master tell you how to think and feel about the people who buy the other thing. You know, there's a real difference between genuine passion for something and this manufactured tribalism dressed up in fake loyalty. Genuine passion is loving a thing deeply for what it gives you. Joy, peace, memories, a good time. Manufactured tribalism is defining yourself by what you're against and who is against you. One of those is yours. The other one was handed to you in an attempt to get your money and increase your engagement. You know, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were not enemies. The members have said this repeatedly over the years. And this entire topic came to me because I was watching on the ID channel. It's called Boy Band Confidential. I encourage you to check it out because it is very eye-opening in a lot of ways. It talked about the reality TV show Lou Pearlman did and all this. I really didn't watch it at the time, but I think it's an eye-opener. They were peers, sometimes friendly ones. And some were also the victims of abuse by those people. And they kind of all were victims of exploitation. They all had to navigate the same industry being controlled by the same group of people who did not have their best interest in mind. You know, Lou Pearlman stole from both of them. Lou Pearlman allegedly did worse to others. The artists were not the rivalry. The rivalry was the product the artist sold using the artist. And I see some of this sometimes in crafting groups. Not a lot, but some. Most crochet communities and knit communities and quilting communities, they share patterns, they teach each other, they give hints, they lift each other up. Yeah, there's yarn snobs that only use a certain type of yarn and tool debates about who has the best hook. But there's not a lot of team crochet versus team knitting wars out there who are actively trying to take the other side down. We make things. And making things creates a meaningful community more than fighting does. And that's something to hold on to. Choose connection over engineered division. Feed into your love of music, the movie, the thing, whatever it is, not into the machinery that wants you fighting about it for engagement. Have fun with it. Just don't let it become your identity or your sole purpose. The fight was the product they were trying to push. Love of the thing is what brought you to it in the first place. Yeah, it takes out the anger, insert the fun. All right, coffee crew, time for Shuffle Happens. Take a nice deep breath, let the episode settle, and let me ground you out a little before I send you back into the chaos. This week's card is the Knight of Wands. So close your eyes if you can and let the imagery take you away for a moment. The scene is a morning desert. The light is just starting to rise on the right side. The sun just peeking up over the dunes. The sky shifting from dark to something warmer. It feels like the beginning of something. Between two large dunes at the center stands a warrior. His cloak and hair are blowing as the wind blows gently. He is already moving, already generating momentum. He is dressed, ready to conquer whatever the day brings. There's a dagger strapped to his side. It's at rest, but ready if needed. He is walking towards you with purpose, not rushing, not wild, not angry, but deliberate. His eyes are forward. From his stomach glows a red light, like this firehouse inside him, giving him the drive to push forward. Behind him, so large that it towers over the sand dunes, is a strong, proud lion. Its mane blows in that same gentle wind, its eyes glowing a warm yellow light. It's following the warrior, matching his pace, moving in step. The lion is not being led. It is not being commanded. It is choosing to walk, to follow. Because they're going to the same place, for the same reason. Forward, determined. Whatever is ahead, they will meet it together, on their terms, at their pace. Not fighting each other, not leading each other, but supporting each other. Upright, the Knight of Wands is bold action and passionate forward motion. This card shows up when you're ready to move, when the energy has been building and it's finally time to act. The knight does not wait to be sure. He walks into the desert at sunrise because the moment is now. This card is your permission to change toward the thing you want, toward the version of yourself you're becoming, towards whatever has been waiting for you to stop hesitating. The Knight of Wands reversed asks you to look at the battles you are in and check whether you chose them or whether they were chosen for you. whether the outrage is real or engineered, whether the rivalry is yours or someone else's product. The question this card always asks is this: whose charge is this? Is this your fire, your direction, your genuine yes? Or did someone hand you the horse and point you at the enemy and telling you that winning this particular fight is what matters the most? The warrior and the lion are walking forward. Their direction is their own. If they choose to act, it's their choice. So for this week, just make sure your charge is yours, not something someone handed you to carry for them. All right, my people, my coffee crew. Remember, the fight was the product, and the rivalry was engineered. The 90s laid the egg, social media hatched it and fed it, and made that monster big. And knowing that, like really knowing that, is not just smart, but in the moment when you feel yourself getting pulled into this like loyalty mission, you can kind of start walking in your own direction instead of the one someone mapped out for you. Have fun with it. Love your thing. Buy the merch because you want it, not just to score some invisible loyalty points. You know, you have to earn some money to prove which side you're on. A little milestone update for you guys. I need a favor from two groups of you. My Apple podcast followers, I am sitting at 91. And my brain doesn't like 91. It's not even. It's not a multiple of 10. So it would like you to bring in like 9 more friends, you know, because if not, I keep checking it all day, every day, begging to see if it's moved another one. And my Substack is sitting at 52 followers. So if I could get, 3 of you, so it's a multiple of 5, 8 of you, so it's a multiple of 10. Because if not, they just sit there being wrong in all their wrongness and very uncomfortable. So if you could go follow on those platforms, my brain might actually relax a little bit. Maybe. Well, probably not, but we can try, damn it. Also, I'm working on a blanket for my son. I've posted some progress pictures. So if you'd like to see its progress, you can come find us on Instagram at coffee.crochet.conversation. I have it cross-posted, so if you don't really do Instagram, you do Facebook. There's also a Facebook page. Come hang out. Show me what you're working on. Tell me what boy band you loved in the 90s. No judgment. Although I have to admit, I don't have my Nick Carter pillow anymore. I actually threw that away. Well, okay, so there will be some judgment, but like in a fun way. Like, let's gush about why Nick Carter was the best. And as always, coffee crew, keep your stitches sassy, your coffee strong, and your spirit grounded.